We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Council has discussed crypto regulations and legislations at length, and we have come to the conclusion that instead of regulating, we are going to ape a fat bag each into laptop and pump it to over $1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 market cap. Let's fucking go, crackheads.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Morning Coffee. I got my coffee locked and loaded, ready to go, because we have to talk about the crypto market today, about a potential bigger crypto crash before we are going higher. This will be the topic of today, and I brought some new indicators, some new charts that shed a little bit more light on what could be happening in the next couple of days, weeks, months. And also we are going to talk about a little bit about altcoins. We have Toncoin, we have Chainlink, we have Avalanche. Those are in the news, potentially Solana, but also we are going to talk about Ecomi and Veve and the infamous P word, the Pokemon word, right? Because there are discussions again. People are flying mad as hell at me because I just asked the question about the Pokemon TCG, but it is what it is. So make sure to stay all the way through. So, good morning, everyone, each and one of you. I see already Green Lantern is here. What is up, my rare hodler? Present and like, thank you very much. So guys, make sure to smash up the like button right now while we are getting the stream started. And also, we need to take a big sip of coffee because I am longing for coffee right now. By the way, I like this. This is a northern German style of like everything dishes. I really like that one. I think it's beautiful. By the way, here is written in German. It's a coffee pot, so to say, like a bigger coffee mug. Yeah, very beautiful. I like this a lot. I'm originally from north of Germany, born in the north. And people, especially my family, they use it a lot. So I like that. But nonetheless, we're here for crypto and not for northern German dishes. So let me know how you guys are doing as we're headed to the end of the week. It's a beautiful blue sky outside, still hot temperatures in Germany, but that is coming to an end very, very soon as we're heading into fall. Also, speaking of fall, there was a fall in crypto, in Bitcoin a while ago, or a couple of days ago. Until now, we're down 11%, or we have hit as low as 11%. We're up a little bit more, and we are finding some support in this area. This is the 1 hour chart, never seen before on Patient Hodler channel, but right now crucial. So you see how this rising channel developed, and we said usually with a higher likelihood than not these break to the downside, right? And then it broke to the upside, and I was like, man, I didn't expect that, but it was only a fake out apparently. And I was like, oh, this looks like a bull flag. And then it just turned around, rolled over, and broke it still to the downside. So sometimes, and this is what happens, like on the lower time frames, this is why we're usually not looking at the lower time frames. On the lower time frames, you really can't, I mean, if some whale just dumps a couple of Bitcoin in the market, the price just goes like south, right? So that is, yeah, that is a little bit problematic. Gflow asks, are you still buying any digital collectibles? Also, I think Veve at 3 cents is top end of potential. We can talk about this a little bit later, but so far I am buying very little, but here and there I'm buying, usually comics, right? But very little, very little. So now the big question is, what is going to happen to the crypto market? And yesterday we looked at all the possibilities, like the daily here, like the daily downward sloping, a little bit broadening channel thingy, but also on the monthly, where we have this formation here, where all the price action is basically in there and we are not in it anymore. So the big question is, could we see a bigger crash? And I want to evaluate this with you, and I brought a new indicator for us, and this is it's technically a known one, but so Bitcoin is around technically since 2009, but this is one of the oldest charts that you can find, and it doesn't have the very early stage here. Doesn't matter though. So what we're going to have in the next days is the Fed interest rate cut. Very likely, at the moment, 100% certainty that there will be a cut. Now, I've already talked about this one time before, but I want to show it again. So we are going to put into this chart the Fed funds rate indicator and we're just looking at Bitcoin. So what you can see if we open this up is, in Bitcoin's history, the Fed only hiked 2 times, and in Bitcoin's entire history, the Fed only cut 1 time, okay? And that was during the C crisis. Here, right? So the rate hike, as you can see here, the rate hike it started here in the bull, but it led ultimately to this bear market, right? In terms of global liquidity tightening, it led to the bear market. But the Fed cutting, led to, so here's the cutting start, right? Here's the cutting start, led to I think it's about 70%. Yeah, it led to let's say, after starting to cut, Bitcoin fell 71%. Obviously, we know why this massive crash happened, but even without that, even before that was really known, Bitcoin fell 50% on the rate cuts. So here the cutting starts, and here the cutting ends. So they reached zero, basically zero, or baseline, zero interest rate here when this happened, when the C crisis crash happened, and then the pump began, right? Which now, because we only have one factor, bears the argument that we are going to see this indicator, this curve, take the first step down just in the next month, which now basically asks the question, will we see Bitcoin come down more while we are cutting, as we have been seeing it here? Because you have to see one thing. The C19, so this is June 2019, and the C19 crisis, although it's C19, the real certainty that something was going on was only here. So all of this retracement here in this, I can pull it up a little bit more so we really see the dimension. All this retracement here was not driven by any fears of global pandemic and whatnot. Only this sharp fall off. Only January rumors, February certainty that something happened in China, March it reached Europe. Boom, right? Crash. But here is the cutting. The cutting is here, July 2019, and the price starts falling sharp. Actually 53%. The question is, if we have that right now, and it only starts right now, what if we drop another, so we are already down, or we're already down 20%, we have been down 30%. What if we drop another 50%, like another 20-30%, so that it's total of 50%, right? Like this. Well, it would give us a Bitcoin price of 37,000, which is coincidentally more or less the lower band of the power of law. Okay. Could that happen? Yeah, definitely. So let's look at another chart. Actually, not this one. Where is it? Oh, here. The S&P 500. Which doesn't want to load. Oh, there we go. Here we have a little bit more data for the rate cuts, right? Okay, so again, the same indicator, you see it here on the bottom. And this is the rate cuts on the S&P, which not directly led to a crash here. Like, I mean, it kind of did, but only a small red blip. Then rally, and then the pandemic. So somehow the stock market, it did react differently to the rate cuts than we saw just in Bitcoin, right? But this is the only situation that we have, okay? So basically, from the rate cutting, from the start of the cut, the S&P went up 20%, right? So it's a little bit conflicting here, because if you say there's a correlation, what if this happens in the S&P, and this time the correlation goes like, oh, Bitcoin also, right? But here we have a little bit of a different story. This is US financial crisis, Lehman Brothers and housing bubble. And the rate cuts started here because they knew like something is brewing. So the rate cut starts here, and we quickly go into this is the monthly, we go into 3 green months, but then the crisis hits, boom. And then it's another 500 days of just red in the market, and super big crisis, right? So that was a rate cut before the actual crisis. And then also here we have already a 15% downwards trend in the S&P. Then the rate cut, 1 green month, and then a big the dot-com bubble crash, basically 44% down in the S&P. That's all we have, because this indicator doesn't give us more history. But there are several more in here, and there are also several where it doesn't happen. So it's more, it's really guesswork. And the more that people talk about recession, probably the less likely it actually hits, because if the masses know about it, it usually is wrong, right? So back to the conclusion now. There is a chance, and I will really put it like that. There is a chance that we get this crash, but it would not be just because of rate cuts, because you see that rate cuts can lead to the S&P go on a 4 or 5 months immense bull run, as well as directly turn around and crash, which indicates to me that the Fed funds rate is in many cases a reaction to the actual circumstances and to data that they get just in the meantime, right? And every crisis is different. So for example, Lehman Brothers, first of all, the banks came out with defaults, which needed then bailouts, but then also basically the housing market went into a crash because everyone wanted to sell their house and no one wanted to buy houses, giving the downward spiral, and then also leading to more credit defaults in the banks, right? So this time, as far as we know until now, we don't really have that scenario, but there could be something brewing that we don't know about, that maybe the Fed already knows about, and it could be coming to light maybe the Fed also is too late, right? And something breaks just before the rates are cut, right? It could also be happening. Or this time, actually, the Fed is cutting the rates just in time to turn the economy around. One more time, one last party, one time more music playing before, everything is too late and US cannot service their debt anymore and so on, right? That could be happening. There are a couple of more indicators, though, for this crashy scenario, right? And that is, for example, this one here. Market concentration has now reached 2000 dot-com bubble levels. And also, this is funny again, because it's meant like this, right? This is the market concentration. So financials, energy, materials is the blue, goes down. Tech, telecom, healthcare up, right? So it's a tech bubble scenario instead of a financial bubble scenario, because you see here, like 2017 Lehman Brothers, it was the exact opposite. Tech, telecom, healthcare was down, and financials, energy, materials was up, right? And highest concentration, so inversion. Apparently, it's only good if they are not too far of each other. So that is an indicator for a tech bubble, and we also see it with Nvidia, right? Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. I hope no one's ears exploded on this. This is a lot of fat, but I wanted to discuss it. Maybe we can first go into this here. So this is Pompliano on CNBC, but I think he basically confirms that it's only a couple of seconds, but I wanted to play it anyways, right? So let's listen to this quickly for a couple of seconds. There we go.
3.5, gold's is 0.09. And so that volatility is part of what draws people, that they want the upside of something like Bitcoin, but they still want the sound money principle.
So they still want to trade it. What will Bitcoin's reaction be if the economy gets hit hard, as Barry Knapp was just saying he thinks will happen? What will Bitcoin's reaction be if there's a soft landing?
Yeah, so I think that the more people talk about a potential recession, the less likely that it is that we're going to have a recession, right? People are kind of eyes wide open. They're paying attention to that. And the other thing is, a lot of us criticize the Fed, and rightfully so, for many things. But one thing that they did get right is they've kind of reloaded their ammunition. And so now we've got rates over 5%. They've sold off $2 trillion or so off their balance sheet. If we get to some sort of market slowdown or downturn, the Fed seems to be more trigger happy. They're a little bit more sensitive. You saw this with the 2 emergency rate cuts in 2020. And I do think that they have that ammunition now to fight that market downturn.
But what's it mean for Bitcoin? Because I still can't figure out what the correlations are necessarily. It doesn't always do what I expect it to do.
I think that if cheap capital floods into the market, people will go and they will push out on the risk curve. The nice thing about Wall Street is that Bitcoin is still considered one of the riskier assets in their portfolio. And so I think assets will flow there. But also, I think that if you look at the crypto industry, they look at this as an asset that they buy and they hold. They do not sell this asset. And so it'll remain illiquid. You'll have Wall Street kind of allocating to it. And as we've seen, when interest rates have gone down or cheap capital has flooded into the market in the past, Bitcoin has done very, very well.
Okay, so this is interesting, right? Because this is the other side of the medal, and which is rate cuts lead to cheaper capital, to capital expansion, and so on, and that would flow into risk on assets. And I fully agree with that. But we cannot neglect history on rate cuts, which I just showed you. But even if there was a flash crash or something, in the end, it would only speed up the how cheap capital will be and how much capital will be pumped into the market. So overall, I think it would be something like C19 bump in the road, and then a fast and a swift recovery. And also, what is interesting is, like, he says, yes, there are a lot of players in the market, like institutions in the market, that are now buying Bitcoin, and that usually people in crypto, they tend to buy and hold. This is true for Bitcoin, maybe for Ethereum, but not for altcoins. So it could be that even if there is a crash, that the Bitcoin is more stable than the rest of the market, and that altcoins get massively hit. So what is the strategy then here, right? What is the strategy around this? If there was a crash, a flash crash, an uncertainty, whatever, right? Or even an announcement of a recession into expanding capital. For me, it's only, I see the potential for the bull market, and based on all indicators that we are looking at every day, I still say we are in a bull market. But I see also the downside risk. For example, a couple of things, right? For the strategy. So what I do see is stochastic RSI monthly. It's on the downward trend until we don't see a bull cross on the monthly. Very likely this momentum, sideways momentum, is going to continue, right? Okay, I see that. Also, this looks like every time we had the stochastic RSI behave in this way on the monthly, we saw big crashes, right? Every time. There is no exception until the inception of this chart. No exception for a big crash. We are already in such a big crash. We already saw 30% downturn, which is not a little bit, right? So I would say there could be 2, 3, I don't know what, months more downturn. It's possible, and it could go with rate cut, flash crash, and so on. So from this, it's a possibility, right? Overall, long term, using, for example, the TSI, as I always do, and I think that's the only thing that you really need, right? The true strength, the stochastic RSI, the normal RSI, and chart behavior. So the only thing that you really need. Everything else is fancy. I mean, Gaussian channel is super interesting, Bollinger Bands interesting, but this is okay. So that it just jumped to V chain. I don't want that. Okay. I don't know what I just did, but let's go to the trading view. Again, I got rid of the Bitcoin chart. But overall, what's the strategy? While I reopen it, what's the strategy? It is basically, for me, pile up some cash to be able to take advantage if we get a flash crash in September or October. That is my strategy, right? And the rest for me is hodl. Even though it gets a massive hit on the altcoins, I'm not a day trader, nor I'm a short-term trader. The only trade that I want to take is buy low somewhere here, and then sell high somewhere there, right? That's the only trade I want to take, right? Just like here, buy low, sell high. A bit for Bitcoin even, I will not sell everything, obviously, and then buy low again, right? These are the only big trades that I want to take, because everything in between, it gets noise the more you zoom out of a chart. So just my opinion, you don't have to follow this. You do your own, you do you, I do me, and so on, right? You know what I mean? And yeah, so that is that. But I was, so this morning I listened to Peter Zeihan. And Zeihan was on this podcast on what is that, Joe Rogan or something like that. Bitcoin is down from 74K to 59K. Next stop $1,000. If that ever happens because of a crash, I will become 100% a whole coiner, and I'm going to buy as much as I can. And exactly that opinion. Because why I would do that, this is exactly the reason why it will never happen. But listen to this. I was so triggered, I want you to be triggered with me. Troy Paris asks, do you have a number of Bitcoin that you want to hold long term? As much as possible, to be honest. I mean, look at the options. Like, I don't know, I have not even a whole Bitcoin, right? And probably many of you also don't have a whole Bitcoin. The dream is to at some point get to one whole Bitcoin. That's the dream. But until then, it's like, if there's a dip, I allocate some money, I get a little bit of a fraction more. And if there is a sharp dip, I allocate a lot of money, right? A lot according to my financial conditions. And on the other side, I don't want to have debt, and I want to have some cash reserve that I can act in a so for example, some people they are working on the verge of nothing, right, in terms of cash. And this is a problem because if, let's say, my computer breaks, I cannot do the streams anymore because I don't have cash to buy a new computer, right? This cannot happen. Or for example, you lose your job. You should have a couple of salaries worth of cash to be able to survive if there is no social net. Like in Germany, for example, if you lose your job, you get from the social whatever, like you get like a percentage of your salary paid until you find your next job, right? So that you don't have to like give everything up just because some idiot released you from the company to save some costs, right? So yeah, that is that. Number of Bitcoin that you want to hold long term. The answer is as much as possible, everything, but preferably get to a whole coin. And I'm far away from that. I'm like 25% there or so. But the idea is altcoins outperform. I can sell the altcoins, wait for bear market, and then buy a lot of Bitcoin, or I don't know how many Bitcoins, right? That's the idea. We will see if it happens. This channel is a journey combined with news of how this could be possible. So anyways, let's listen to this. I want you to be triggered as much as I am. So listen.
No intrinsic value to this asset. And now it's starting to be priced appropriately. So it has a, what's Bitcoin at? 16,000? It has another 17,000 to go down.
Duh, really?
Yeah, there's no intrinsic value to this product.
And do you think that people have just inherently lost faith in the idea behind crypto because of FTX?
Well, it became an ideology, and whenever you invest based on an ideology, you're going to make some decisions that are a little divorced from math.
And what do you mean by ideology?
Well, they're the people who...
Yeah. Okay, so one second here. Bitcoin is an ideology, yeah, right. But fiat money and all the political shenanigans that are going on, that has nothing to do with ideology, right? So all the eat the rich and what is out there, like, oh, we have to tax everything into oblivion because totally we need the tax money because we don't have a money. That's not an ideology, right? Absolutely not, yeah.
Really like crypto are convinced that it's the currency of the future and that a decentralized ledger is the way to go, and that anything that is controlled by a government entity is by definition a negative, and if it's done by the private sector freely, it will be better. And that's just not how currency works. Currency is a method of exchange and a store of value, and for that there has to be a degree of trust, and you have to have it managed in terms of volume.
I think he's wrong at one point here, and this triggers me the most because he says currency is a means of exchange and a store of value. How can you say that if your currencies if your currency is an means of exchange to put your labor into the market, and that gets debased basically on a daily basis? How can you say it's a store of value if the US goes from a couple of 100 years ago to 35 trillion US dollars? That is a store of value. It's correct what he says, that Bitcoin is not the ideal medium as a currency, but as a store of value, it's the best that you can find on in the universe, probably.
I mean, one of the craziest things about Bitcoin is that there will never be more than X number of units of Bitcoin. Well, by default, that means it can't be used for trade, because the whole idea of economic activity is that there's expansion, which means you need more currency to lubricate and manage that expansion. If currency is locked in at a specific number, you get monetary inflation, and that is one of the fastest ways to destroy an economic model.
So because of the lack of Bitcoin, because there's a certain controlled number, the only thing that can happen is Bitcoin becomes more expensive.
Right. And that means that the people who hold it are the ones that make the money, but everyone else suffers? I'm sorry, that's not viable. The alternative is you have some private dude out there who generates the coins on a whim. How is that different from the monetary reserve?
Okay, so his price prediction was apparently $1,000, But in the same time, he says that Bitcoin is going up all the time, and that therefore it's not viable as a currency, right? And it's somehow true. Yeah, exactly. Fiat currency is incredibly poor store of value, exactly, because it has no bottom, right? And that's the reason why Bitcoin has no top, because everyone can take this fiat currency, they generate it all the time, and they can put it into Bitcoin, where on the other side you have a fixed supply, right? So I partially agree with him, because Bitcoin would not be ideal to live a system as we have it right now, where you need monetary expansion to stimulate the economy and have Bitcoin as the currency to do that, right? So there needs to be always this medium which you can print, because by default, assets have to go up to make up in nominal value. They don't even have to go up, and they don't go up necessarily in their intrinsic value, but in nominal value, they have to go up. So there needs to be inflation. Have you ever asked yourself why the Fed wants to reach 2% inflation and not 0% inflation? Is because if you, and it makes sense in an economic model, if you know that the currency that you have is worth more tomorrow than it is today, you will hold it until tomorrow and not spend it today. So, and probably there is statistic value or statistic knowledge that at 2% is the threshold where people start spending the money instead of keeping it, because they feel the debasement, right? So, and if you don't spend your money, that means that companies don't sell, which means companies don't employ, which means people don't earn money, which means they will hold on to what they have, and yada yada, right? So in that sense, economic wise, you need this expansion to have people participate in the market, because otherwise they would hold on to everything they have, right? That's in theory. So Bitcoin gives the alternative to this and say, okay, I can take my money and I can put it into before it was gold, right? And I can put it into something that has demand and a fixed supply, and that goes up equally and preserves my wealth. And I can convert it back into that currency at some point to buy something. So if I want to save, I cannot do it in normal currency. And this is the biggest problem. 98% of the world are not even aware that you cannot save in normal currency, because you're getting debased on a year-to-year, month-to-month, week-to-week, day-to-day, and even hourly basis. You're getting debased, right? So I would say that the combination, like having Bitcoin in this system, is the ultimate, like it's the ultimate game changer for everyone that understands it, right? Yeah, exactly. He's missing the point. BTC is divisible by 8 decimal places. Sats can be used as a medium of exchange easily until the price of Bitcoin gets too high, where one sat would be, let's say one sat would be $100 so, right? Then it gets difficult, right? But there's probably a solution to that as well. Andrew Dunlap says, I'm curious, is Germany on the euro? Because Germany seems to be one of the most financially secure countries by means of debt in the world. So I wonder if they print huge amounts of money like US. So it's different. The euro, yes. So first of all, Germany is on the euro. So is 27 countries in the European Union. Maybe it's 28 now, because Croatia, in the beginning of the year, they got the euro, or the beginning of last year, something. I think it was last year. So the biggest problem is that there is a European central bank, and this central bank is managing the monetary policy for all the countries. So you don't have your own central bank. It's the European Central Bank, and the European Central Bank has stakeholders, like Germany, for example. So, for example, 30% of the balance sheet technically is held by Germany, of the central bank, which means when the central bank buys Italian debt or Greek debt, Germany is a 30% shareholder of this debt, right? And they issue money to those countries to save them from going bankrupt, right? So it's not about bailout of banks anymore. It's about bailout of countries in the European Union, and other countries are carrying the weight. And I'm not blaming those countries, because there has been a lot of shenanigans have been going on with this stuff. So false numbers to get Greece into the European Union and so on, right? So, and what happens is in the European Union, so for everyone who is not here in the EU, I have to explain this. You have it's basically like one country for the federation in economical sense, right? And they are trying to, there are no import taxes anymore inside of that union, which also means that weaker economies got completely wrecked by exportation. So, for example, how can Greece build cars when Germany as a car manufacturer is completely dominating that market now? They cannot put import tax on cars anymore to Greece to have the hope of a car manufacturer coming up in Greece. Instead, Germany can just export the countries, the cars. Whereas the Greek economy doesn't have much to counter that in such a sense, right? So it's a little bit weird, and it also shows. But then on the other side, you don't have like equal rules for workforce, retirement, and so on. So you have countries where people work until basically 70, like Germany is 67 right now. And then you have countries where people go in retirement like at 60. So it's also crazy. So there's a lot of problems that this European Union will face in the next decade or so. In economical sense, but also in political sense, right? So, for example, you need an immigration policy that the entire European Union supports, basically, right? And so on. And then you have national parliaments that have to execute what is decided on a European Union level, but in many cases, it's not in accordance with the constitution of that specific country. So they cannot execute unless it overrules the constitution, but you cannot do and so on. It's a big mess, but they are trying to make it possible. Another crash, last chance, pullback, need green again soon. Did keep dipping. Yeah, absolutely. Bitcoin goes up or down. I cannot tell you that, but a lot of people are selling here on Binance Spot at the moment. Yeah, 1 BTC equals $1 million. 1 SAT will be equal to 0.1 cents. Yeah, exactly. So Big J is right. There is a long time until a Satoshi would be unviable, and also probably. What if that would happen? Until then, there is a currency reform, so to say, right? And excuse me. Also, the question is it even worth measuring all the time Satoshis and Bitcoin in dollars? Or should we measure it at some point in what a Satoshi or what 1 Bitcoin or 0.1 Bitcoin, what it can buy you, right? Maybe at some point we need the prices of goods in Bitcoin as well, so that people can have a notion, right, what that costs. So for example, you buy a Fiat in Italy, right? A Fiat Uno, Cinquecento or something like that. You buy that in Italy, there's like Fiat Uno 0.1 Bitcoin, right? That's the price. You also have the price in euro, but you have the price in Bitcoin as well. That would be cool, at least if we could in the supermarket see how many sats you need to buy a pack of eggs, right? and then against that you see the currency rising, but you see it's always stable on the Satoshi side. Yeah. Meanwhile, the fear and greed index is at bear market levels, even though we are sitting just under 60k, right? You see this here. So this is bear market territory. We have never been that low until recently, when we dipped into absolute extreme fear. And that is usually the inflection point. That is usually when things change. If you go into extreme fear, usually when things change. Also, I want to go into top signal. So Nvidia had their earnings yesterday, and they have just posted a record Q2 revenue of 30 billion. First of all, it shows you how powerful AI is. Secondly, Nvidia is single-handedly holding up the market. But also, Nvidia is it's like Bitcoin before altcoin season. What could be happening at some point is, because all retail is at the moment at Nvidia, I will show you in a second why. So what could be happening is like when altcoin season hits, profits flow out of Bitcoin into other coins. There could be these massive amounts of money at some point exiting Nvidia and flowing into the other stocks, right? Because this is completely outperforming. So yeah, compared to 1 year ago, quarterly revenue is up a whopping 122%. Like Nvidia is performing like an altcoin, basically. 10 years ago, Nvidia was bringing in just 1.1 billion. Now they have like quarter revenues of 30 billion. This is crazy. So meanwhile, Nvidia just announced another $50 billion stock buyback, and they expected 32.5 billion of revenue in the current quarter. So the announcement, what they are going to probably do as revenue in the next quarter is it's like 2.5 additional billions, right? So over 100 billion annual revenue. This is like a money machine. This is crazy. And it shows us that AI, so the AI narrative for all crypto plays is intact, right? So why do I say it's kind of the top signal? Look at this. Nvidia is now the first stock to have an in-person watch party earning results. So people are getting together like the ultimate fanboys to have watch parties for the earning results. I wonder if at some point people will get together in bars to look at Bitcoin pump. Like Bitcoin starts pumping, everyone lines up in bars, drinks beers, look at the massive God candle going on, and maybe even paying in Bitcoin at that bar. Could be happening, right? SL says, Block Trainer said 1 Bitcoin 49 million by 2030. I can you see in 2030 it's true. Yeah, I mean, why not? It's 5 years from now, and if they print currency like crazy, and the debt of the US is like 500 trillion or so, why not? Can you close your eyes, take two fingers on the head, and take a close look into 2030? No, I can't. But if, let's say, if a bread at the bakery costs 50 euros, right? Or $50, couldn't Bitcoin also be at 50 million? Right? I mean, you're talking about something like accelerating to hyperinflation scenarios. It's very easy to reach these price points, right? So then also, just putting the comment aside, but another thing that can lead to a crash is this, right? Because then people would just sell their stuff before unrealized gains tax hits. So you see this, the proposal of the Camila, is corporate tax rate 28%. Currently it's at 21%. So that means you would cripple the economy just at a moment where it's already crippled. Then capital gains tax 44.6% instead of currently 20%. Capital gains tax, I mean, what the heck? So what that would lead to is, first of all, people that have capital and that are investing and that make gains by that, they would leave the country. They are already leaving to Dubai from the US because of the very unfriendly circumstances around crypto, right? And that is a fault of the current policy of the SEC and so on, right? But then unrealized gains tax 25%. This is insane. This is completely nuts, right? If they include housing, that means they will tax you for the house you own extra every year, right? So because if you have a house and you bought it years ago, you have unrealized gains because your house is necessarily, because we are at peak bubble territory, we are necessarily in profit. If you're a house owner in the US, you're necessarily in profit, right? So if you tax it with, let's say your house, for math's sake, your house, you bought your house 20 years ago for 100K, no, let's say 200K, and now it's worth 400K, right? And now so they want to tax you on 200K profit. So that is that's $50,000. They want $50,000 from you. So you either have to take out a loan to pay that, or you have to sell the house to pay that, or you have to sell something else, or you happen to have $50,000 in cash just to throw at the government, right? Considering all of that, like entrepreneurs, investors, and higher medium class to upper class people are heavily hit by all of this, right? Meaning, who would vote knowing this? Only people that already have nothing, right? People that have nothing, they're like, oh my god, this guy has something, I want a share of it, right? So obviously no one will vote for the Camila with this stuff, right? Andrew says, I'm pretty sure the capital gains tax raise is only on super high earners, like top 1%. The unrealized capital gains is dumb. Yeah, so the capital gains tax, obviously, it will be probably in degrees, but still, you know what that means? Like, the high earners, like the top 1%, if you tax them too much, they will go away. It's just that simple, because they have enough money to just move. Like, you see it from the Telegram founder, from Burov. If you have enough money, you can just go to one of these island states, give them 100K and buy, or a couple of 100K and buy a passport, right? He did that. He has like 4 citizenships or so. So if you tax them too much, and I mean, you have like currently 20%, you raised it by more than double. Everyone who is a billionaire will just say, the fuck's going on with my investments? I'm going to Dubai. Like, hey, Dubai, do you want me? Do you pay me less taxes? Or it's like, oh, I go to Switzerland. Life in Switzerland is expensive, but you can basically negotiate your own taxes with the canton. Like, canton is like it's like the little states within Switzerland. And Switzerland is more than happy to give you like a very, very low tax scheme to have the money in there. So obviously, no one wants to leave their home country if they like it. But if you tax them too much, they will do it. We saw it many times before. Andrew says, I heard someone say that instead of unrealized gains, they should tax only when people take loans against their assets. Yeah, but then you're crippling investment, and you're actually lowering rates. You're lowering rates to have people take out loans on cheaper basis, so that it's cheaper to invest in something. So let's say this guy wants to, like, the US is known for the American dream, right? Meaning that in the US it's very easy to found a business, to take out loans, and to just start something, like start a business, right? Like less bureaucracy, but also cheaper money. So let's say I want to start a business and I want a loan against my house to start funding the business, buying machines, buying factory ground, buying whatever, right? Makes it really easy for me to start a business. Now I can't do that anymore because they will tax the hell out of me once I take out that loan to invest it into something. So you're basically becoming Germany or someone else where it's super difficult to start a business. Like, compared to many countries in the world, it's insane. It's like, in Germany, it's like, you register your business, they immediately come and say, you have to pay tax. And also, you have to fill out these 100 forms, and by the way, we're watching you. That is how a business is in Germany. Like, and then you make your first profit, and then they're like, here's your tax on the first profit, and you also have to already upfront pay the tax for expected profit in the next year. This is how they do it in Germany. So yeah, anyways, it's crazy. I think so. I think what many still on the tax topic, I think what many governments don't get, and what they do wrong is they tax a lot. They try to redistribute and manage, but they don't see the crippling effect of the tax. And sometimes if you would have less tax, it stimulates that people spend more, and on the spending you already collect more tax, right? So it's always like, you have to give us more, but ultimately, for what does more tax mean? It means the government is taking more of what you have used your power to earn, right? Either your brain power or your muscular power or whatever, right? So it's really difficult, right? And it leads to a path where at some point you just don't want to earn more money because it doesn't make any sense, right? I believe what they meant was use by those loans to buy things like yachts and such, but who knows? Yeah, so at some point it's like, why would you even want to start a business or whatever? It's like you just get you just work too much for tax and too less for your own pocket. I get that from the perspective of some people. It's like, why can't Elon Musk give more money to the government because he has so much, right? But you also have to see the risk that stands behind the reward and the enormous amount of hours and life that people put into this, right? I mean, yes, you can tax billionaires more, and then you have to live with the consequence, right? That they might be going out of country because they don't like the tax, yeah? Or they willingly pay the tax and everything is still fine. But so, and then you're getting to, okay, so if billionaires want to leave the country, well, let's force them to not, right? And that is where you get build the Berlin Wall. People cannot leave the country because it sucks. In Canada, our capital gains tax is, I think, around 66.67%. That's crazy. So in Germany, the capital gains tax is 25%. So it's 5% higher than current US, but it's cheaper than Canada and what the US will be in the future. But imagine, like, the problem with this is, for the normal user, capital gains tax, the money that I put in the stock market, it already is tax deducted. I already earned tax on my gains, right? On my salary. I already paid tax, not earned. I already paid tax on my salary. So it's only the fucking leftovers that I tried to put to use that it gains more, right? Why do you have to tax me on those gains again? Yeah. Why can't you let me invest in peace with what you have already cut half off of my work, right? So this is, and then I take so let's say I make $1,000 on the stock market, and they take 25%, so I have $750 left over. With the $750, I go to the supermarket, and on every article in this fucking supermarket, there's either, if it's food, 7% on top tax, or if it's not food, 19% on top. So I pay again taxes. I paid the taxes on my salary. I risk it on the stock market. I take out initial gains. I go to the supermarket. I get taxed again. It's like, and don't worry, every tax that ever is introduced, it will never go away. Never, never, ever. There's not a single case of actual tax reduction. Yeah. I personally don't think the government uses taxes very well, but on the same note, the super wealthy don't tend to help the poor with extreme amounts of extra wealth. It's a very difficult situation. Emigration to a tax-friendly country is necessary for most of us. Yeah, exactly. So the problem is that Andrew, I also agree with you. Like, people need to help the poor, for sure. But it's not always like giving a poor person money, right? It's not always that, because, you know, like, if you think back to your own childhood, if you don't understand money and someone gives you money, you just spend that money and you end up where you are again, right? And you also cannot justify that someone does nothing, gets money because they are poor, and then continue to do nothing, right? There are many, many cases where poor people are struggling, they are working hard. I mean, look at all the stories from, I was so many years in Brazil, look at all the crazy stories from the favela, where people walk by foot 3 hours to get to work, and they earn like just a misery, but they are going and struggling. But I think the problem with this is, and it's worldwide, the solution to all poverty worldwide of governments is, let's take money from someone and throw it in the face of someone else, instead of let's create the knowledge fundament and the infrastructure and everything else so that people can become entrepreneurs, or that they can have work, so that they can earn their own wealth, right? That they can improve. That is the ultimate goal. But what they do is like, oh, you have a loaf of bread, you can survive another week, we are so good to you. Yeah, that's not also, I would feel extremely shitty if I would sit somewhere without work and someone gives me $100 every month so that I can survive, and then this person goes like, oh, I'm the good guy, I saved patient toddler, every month I give him money to save him. No, I want the chance, the opportunity, I want everything to make my own living, my own wealth, right? I want to, like, my self-esteem and everything else requires that I work, that I produce this, right? So I think just taking money from someone who has made a lot and giving it to someone who doesn't make money is not enough. It's not enough. It doesn't solve any problem, and also it requires you to continue with that same mode forever, because you make people dependent. We want to make people independent, free, and have self-esteem. Yeah. Yes, so Troy Perez says, yes, hopefully they do not change the IRA laws, because they are trying to change it also. PH, you are the man. Great to hear similar ideas that I believe being said. Thank you very much, Troy. Good stuff that we are on the same line. But I'm completely losing myself here from the script. But it's super, like, for me, it's super fun, and to talk with you guys about all these ideas and stuff like that. And you can be, so rest assured, and this is my promise to everyone, to the world. If I make it like beyond a normal normal amount of wealth, right? If I make it beyond, beyond what most people have and so on, I will find a way. I will find a way to somehow fund something that brings people to where they can get knowledge and where they can make something out of their lives. Because I think in the end, we all we strive for self-actualization. We strive to make money in something that we actually like. No one wants to go to a factory line in some third world country and work 10 hours to get $5, right? That's not the goal, right? So people that do not have perspective, they need a perspective and they need the means and the knowledge to do something like that. And I think that is the ultimate goal. So I will definitely work in the direction of getting more people to do that. And one of the contribution is hopefully that this channel brings also something to everyone who watches it, right? So yeah, I had a little bit more here. Actually, I have to go into this because I promised it, but I will run down this very quickly. So the Ton blockchain actually had another problem. It crashed because of a meme coin. That is not good, right? The founder jailed. The founder also he is now half free. Actually, it's not freedom. But he has to pay 5 million bail, which is nothing for him. He has hundreds of millions in Bitcoin. But also he is banned from leaving France. And he has to report twice to the police. So he's semi-free. But maybe he can continue managing Telegram. So this is really good already. This is better than it was looking before. The Ton blockchain, I think it recovers. But if a meme coin crashes your chain, that's not good. And also, this is really big for Avalanche and Chainlink. Hong Kong's Hashkey exchange secures an approval to list AVAX and Link for retail investors. This is actually a big deal because Hong Kong, they can buy these altcoins now and they couldn't before. So this is massive money potential for these altcoins. And there are only 4 coins that can be bought right now on Hashkey in Hong Kong: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these 2. It's a big deal, I think, especially considering that on the other side, China mainland is talking about unbanning Bitcoin, or is unbanning Bitcoin at the moment for people. And it could mean that also maybe in the future, like the 1.5 billion people or so that live in China can buy this stuff. That would be really, really crazy. Andrew says financial knowledge should be taught in schools just like math and such. Yes, I agree. I came out of school, no financial education whatsoever. And yeah, the path that I took after school was exactly like that. Take out a loan and go to university, right? I mean, what the heck? Okay. And then in university, even studying stuff like business administration, you should think they teach you the fundamentals of financials, right? Of money, which is like the most important thing. No way. You don't get that. You don't get that. The most education that I've ever got was in this space, right? Yeah, so Binance was seizing some Palestinian people's crypto yesterday. Oh, yeah, exactly. So I don't have this here, but good that you mentioned it. That's also breaking news, because that shows you how important it is to not have your crypto on exchanges, because had these Palestinians their Bitcoins on cold storage, then this would not have happened, right? So no one can seize your Bitcoins if they are not floating around on an exchange wallet. Obviously, it depends on the situation there, right? Not everyone in Palestine necessarily has the means to buy a cold storage wallet in these countries. You don't get even all the Western articles that we have here, you don't go like, oh, Amazon Prime delivered to the street in the West Bank or whatever, right? You just can't do that. So it's a little bit hypocrite to sit here and say, oh, they should have just put it on a ledger, right? So yeah, it's a absolute garbage move from Binance to seize these assets, and it shows us how important decentralization is. Anyways, yeah. So quickly, Ecomi. So Ecomi is down to 0004. But what I want to talk about is this. So Foster Hill, community manager of Ecomi, is coming out and saying, depending on who or what you follow on social media, the algorithm can make it a minefield when trying to interpret the feelings or sentiment towards a topic. Data removes opinion, and it shows that the sentiment continues to grow. The OMI community is second to none. So I'm trying to understand what this is here. But really, so basically it's OMI sentiment indicator on TradingView. Ecomi percentage of posts weighted by interaction and that are positive. 100% means all posts are positive, and 0% means it is all negative posts. So we see we're at 76%. We don't see because there's the chat, but here we go. We're at 76%. We're down from 84% before. And we're so I don't know. Like, my interpretation is that the sentiment is moving at a consistent level, and there's no really improvement, because if you see this middle line here, it's like 76%. It's like the same since last year, beginning last year. It's all the same. So the Ecomi sentiment indicator, I don't know how much value this really brings, but okay, fine. There are 76% positive posts, but the price action doesn't reflect it, as the price action is at all-time lows, as you see here, right? As you see here, there you go, all-time low. So this is one, and then the other one is this, where I say, why you have to do this to us, right? So David Yu comes out and says, welcome to the digital realm with a yellow heart, right? And so this is, we have already looked at this trailer together, like this is the new Pokemon TCG. And David Yu talking about it, obviously, the community is split, a half and half. There are the so-called moon boys, which say, oh my god, David Yu says something about Pokemon, so we definitely have the Pokemon license on Vivi. And the other ones, they are like, David Yu is talking about this, this is just another pump and dump attempt, and so on, right? So we have both of these opinions. But what I find interesting about this is, he puts a yellow heart. So yellow, obviously, like the color for Pokemon, because the Pokemon letters, they are in yellow and blue. Yellow, the dominant color, but also the Pikachu, which is basically the representation of Pokemon, is also yellow. And so the heart is also the sign of Vivi, right? So he puts the yellow heart. We saw before that he used other hearts. For example, the black-pink, he used a black and a pink heart to say that they have black-pink, right? So in that sense, you could interpret that using the yellow heart means that something they have with Pokemon, right? All fine. What is crazy to me is I posted this. Do I understand correctly? There is no marketplace to trade those. These are not NFTs. I was just asking the community about whether they have more information about the marketplace and NFTs. Anyone get additional info, corrections? And people went completely nuts, right? So the first response was okay, but so for example, they are not coming to Vivi. I didn't even say anything that says they would come to Vivi. And also I said before on the stream that I would go to whatever chain and application there is if they have a marketplace where you can buy and sell them, and if they are somehow NFTs, right? So did someone say so? And then, yes, David posted Pokemon Pancakes and the P word, hidden hints. That was like a big Pokemon quiz show on Vivi. That is true, but I didn't say that in my post, so I don't know why people overreact on my post where I'm asking about the thing, right? So this is really, like, people are really, really sensitive. They're really on edge because of stuff like that, and they treat everyone in the community like if they are all employees of Vivi. We are not. Yeah, David posting Pokemon Pancakes. First of all, you don't know if some license is coming at some point, and secondly, it wasn't me. It was David. So go complain to David, right? One of the major draws of Vivi was the rumor. That is true. Then also, it's an app for collectors, not investors. Like, that's exactly the point. I want to have a secondary market for two things. First of all, if I want to go on an app for collectors as an investor, I'm going to invest, no matter what people say, right? I'm going there to invest. Secondly, even if you're a collector, you need the secondary market, because otherwise you have to open packs until you find that last card instead of buying that last card. And if real collectors don't need a secondary, why are all the real collectors buying and selling Marvel comics on eBay, stamps on eBay, coins on eBay, dolls on eBay, right? So this is like the usual triggered toxic whatever person that just can't live without saying the same thing over and over again. So, and then here also, right, the Pokemon digital collectible cards and NFTs will not be sold on Vivi Marketplace. I know. What the fuck are you talking about? I was asking if that application has a marketplace. Vivi does not sell NFTs. They sell walled garden, CAD model that you cannot take private ownership of. It's like as if people read a comment and then they just, I don't know, they go through a whole discussion in their head and then they comment, right? Energy says the thing is, all the fathers and all the ones who left Vivi will be pissed if Vivi really gets Pokemon. Exactly. That is one of the biggest factors overall, is that the people that completely went out of their bags, they don't have a chance. Like, if it ever comes back, they will be super mad at themselves for having sold and fudded all the time, right? And if it doesn't come back, they will feel very good about themselves. So everyone wants to feel good about their investments. So what they do is they literally, they want it to fail now that they are out, right? So there are many more comments like this tweet blew up. Look at that. But some people also, I have to give, like Magic Wizard here, for example, some people just gave a natural answer to my real question, right? You can trade cards on it. So that's nice. They have a trading functionality. I want a trading functionality for Vivi as well. Someone also says here, the number one fodder, a totally non-biased name, Pokemon also have free AR game. Vivi has overpriced AR with the zero games, zero utility, almost zero users. Sorry for you bags, you should have sold off. While the last sentence is his recommendation, it also, there is some truth to it, right? I mean, these apps have free AR functionality. What they don't have is, they don't even have the sense of ownership. Like, if you want to say, oh, Vivi does, even though you have the ownership history on L1, like on blockchain, if you still want to be of the opinion the actual token and the graphic model is not on chain, you still have no sense of ownership on the other app, which makes the difference, right? So, yeah. Or here, like, yup, they're not coming to Vivi. All those lives Alfred Khan fed you guys are finally coming to light. Literally no one cares that they are not NFTs. yeah, we will see. But they also will be unlimited packs and cards. So if there is no marketplace and no means to sell them, then why should I buy them, right? Yeah, there's no sense. There's no sense in that. Unless I want to play that game. But obviously every model with ownership or sense of ownership would be superior to a model where you only can put money in and never get money out, right? For me, as an investor, I know, everyone who is just a collector that doesn't want to make money with his collection at all and doesn't want to have a valuable item at all, that's fine, right? But that's also not the scope of this channel. Anyways, guys, I think that is it. Again, we did not come to the discussion of WC Ente, but I will save this up for the Freaky Friday maybe. So it was super interesting discussions. Thank you very much for being here. Don't forget to smash up the like button, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and wherever you are on the world, have yourselves a great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon. I see you in the next video or live stream. Have a good one, everyone.